ending October 17, 2025. This week showed how basic security is getting tested again. A big software company got hacked, new zero-day attacks were found, record-breaking denial of service traffic hit networks, and regulators fined companies for poor security. Most of the problems came down to identity, remote access, and supplier exposure. In this update, you'll hear what happened, why it matters for both leaders and defenders, and one simple action to take for each story. Let's get started. A nation-state broke into F5's engineering systems and stole some big IP source code along with notes about unannounced flaws. F5 says it contained the breach and is alerting a small set of customers. Big IP devices sit in front of many critical applications, so stolen research could speed up attacks on their management interfaces. Leaders should treat this as a supply chain risk and approve faster patch and vendor reviews, while defenders lock down management access and centralize detailed logs. The immediate action is to upgrade to supported big IP versions and place administrative access behind a jump host. If that's not possible, geofence it and review for unexplained changes within 48 hours. In the United Kingdom, the regulator fined Capita £14 million for a 2023 breach affecting about 6.6 million people. Investigators cited slow isolation and ignored vulnerabilities. Outsourcers hold your data, and if they fail, you pay too. Leaders should rescore top vendors and tighten contracts and notification timelines. Defenders should ensure vendor logs feed into their security information and event management systems and that they can quarantine compromised devices in minutes. The action is to require quarterly control attestations and isolation drills, and if gaps remain, cut data sharing immediately. An exposed Elasticsearch server leaked more than a terabyte of aggregated breach and web scrape data, roughly 6 billion records. Though it's offline now, copies may circulate. Massive datasets like this make fraud and credential stuffing easier. Leaders should default deny data access and delete personal data without a defined purpose. Defenders should watch for login storms and add multi-factor authentication to risky sign-ins. The clear action is to require authentication on all data stores and enable velocity and impossible travel checks today. Over 13,000 fake ClickFix sites lured people to copy and paste commands into their systems, which deployed malware or persistence. The browser itself became the command console. Leaders should evolve awareness training from "don't click" to "don't paste." Defenders should block those lured domains and monitor for PowerShell launched from browsers. The action is to tighten script execution and application control and to review browser-spawned command histories for abuse. Researchers found some geostationary satellite links sending voice, text, email, and telemetry without proper encryption. With common gear, they could intercept data. Remote sites, ships, and field teams using these connections may be easy targets for eavesdropping. Leaders should treat satellite paths as untrusted and require end-to-end encryption. Defenders should inventory their satellite gear and enforce modern transport security. The action is to enable full encryption immediately or move sensitive work off those links, then verify modem configurations within 48 hours. Microsoft issued October patches fixing 172 vulnerabilities, including 6 zero-days, while ending free security updates for Windows 10. That forces organizations to purchase extended security updates or migrate to Windows 11. Leaders must decide within 30 days whether to pay for ESU or move. Defenders should prioritize patching the 0 days within 48 hours and watch for post-patch scanning. The action is to deploy those fixes now, and if rollout stalls, enable mitigations and check compliance daily. The United Kingdom's National Cybersecurity Center reported major cyber incidents have more than doubled, driven by identity abuse, supplier compromise, and ransomware. The trend shows not just volume, but severity rising. Leaders should schedule quarterly board reviews covering identity, vendor, and incident response results. Defenders should focus detection on identity misuse and supplier origin changes. The action is to enable conditional access controls and verify high-risk sign-ins every week. A new Android side-channel attack nicknamed pic snapping can infer what's on the screen, including one-time passcodes without special permissions. It abuses how displays render content. The screen itself becomes an attack surface. Leaders should move administrators to hardware security keys and phishing-resistant login flows. Defenders should restrict mobile app installations and look for low-permission utilities with unusual access. The action is to enforce hardware-based multi-factor for administrators and audit for unfamiliar apps added within 72 hours. A China-linked group hid inside ArcGIS server by modifying components to act as a web shell for nearly a year before pivoting into identity and data systems. Niche business-critical applications often lack baselines, making them ideal hideouts. Leaders should fund integrity monitoring for these platforms, and defenders should validate ArcGIS file integrity and tie admin actions to known service accounts. The action is to check integrity and admin logs today, rotate credentials if tampering appears, and review data exports within 48 hours. Microsoft tightened Edge's Internet Explorer mode after attackers abused an old chakra-based path. The change could break some legacy intranet apps that relied on silent fallbacks. Real attacks are now hitting those old compatibility paths. The action is to limit IE mode to specific, inventoried apps and monitor every launch. If something breaks, isolate it in a hardened virtual machine while you modernize. Attackers used valid credentials to enter SonicWall SSL VPN portals, moving laterally and staging ransomware in some cases. Weak or missing multi-factor authentication made things worse. Stolen credentials plus an exposed VPN equals rapid compromise. The action is to enable phishing-resistant multi-factor for all remote access, rotate credentials, geofence logins, and review for new admin accounts or configuration exports. Extortion crews exploited an Oracle e-Business Suite flaw to steal finance data. Oracle released an emergency patch and guidance. This targets procurement, receivables, and general ledger systems, core financials. The action is to patch immediately and remove unnecessary external exposure. If delayed, restrict by IP, rotate credentials, and monitor for large report exports. A botnet with over 100,000 addresses launched massive brute force attacks against public remote desktop protocol endpoints. Once inside, it spread laterally. Public RDP remains a direct path to ransomware. The action is to close public RDP, move access behind a VPN with multi-factor, and check for new local admins or Kerberos failures. North Korean operators flooded the Node Package Manager ecosystem with hundreds of malicious packages aimed at crypto, Web3, and data developers. The goal was to steal keys, tokens, or deliver second-stage payloads. Developer laptops and build systems are prime gateways. The action is to pin dependencies with lock files, use private registries, and review recent builds for odd network activity or token creation. The CL0P ransomware group has exploited Oracle e-Business Suite since July, using a new chain of flaws for unauthenticated access to finance, HR, and supply chain modules. They mapped systems and staged exfiltration over months. This hits the core finance stack and risks fraud and audit issues. The action is to apply vendor fixes now, remove internet exposure, enforce strict web application firewall rules, rotate credentials, and check for staged data jobs within 48 hours. Using valid credentials, attackers accessed SonicWall customer environments and viewed backup job metadata for firewalls and management systems. Those tokens are now invalid, and services were hardened. Backup configurations reveal what matters most and how recovery works, information attackers can weaponize. The action is to rotate all stored secrets, enforce multi-factor authentication everywhere, restrict management by source IP, and verify a clean test restore. A critical zero-day in Gladinet CenterStack and TrioFox, tracked as CVE 2025-11371, allows path traversal and remote code execution. Exploitation began before disclosure, and many instances face the internet. File-sharing gateways aggregate documents and tokens, giving broad access. The action is to patch or mitigate immediately, block external access if delayed, rotate secrets, and confirm no new admins, scheduled tasks, or web shells within 48 hours. The iSuru botnet hit record-scale distributed denial of service levels near 30 terabits per second, combining high-bandwidth nodes and abused infrastructure to crush gaming, finance, and hosting targets. Even mature defenses struggled. The action is to verify DDoS playbooks today, ensure always-on protection for critical domains, and test automated routing and filtering under simulated load. Apple doubled its top bug bounty to $2 million for zero-click remote code exploits and clarified timelines to attract more researchers amid ongoing spyware campaigns. Bigger rewards can shift exploit economics, but only if patches are deployed fast. High-risk users remain prime targets. The action is to enforce same-day updates on managed Apple devices, enable lockdown mode for sensitive roles, and verify device compliance this week. That wraps up this week's news. Big vendors were breached, old systems finally broke, and attackers kept finding easy openings. Over the weekend, double-check your backups, make sure remote access needs multi-factor, and confirm patches on your most important systems. When Monday comes, brief your team and leadership on what changed and where you stand. Stay alert, stay patched, and I'll be back next week.